Alright, this is a game that I played on ICC, and it features my new opening that I've developed for black against E4 or D4. In mind, I hit it in my mind to play it against D4, but it turns out I can play this against E4 as well. So just wanted to run a quick video of it and upload it. So I want to lay claim to it. I looked through the chessgames.com site and I tried to see how many times this opening had been played in competition. And since 1866, I think it's been played less than 20 times, and not even in the move order that I play it. So, and that the move order that I'm talking about is D4, D6, and whatever white does next, C4 or E4, black going knight D7. You've seen that against a couple of openings, but not the rest of the continuation. But you've only seen that, like I say, around 20 times in all of those years, and it does not have a name in particular, but it's been classified as a certain opening. It's in a certain section of openings, but like I say, and nobody's taking up this, taking up the torch to, you know, beat the drum on this one here. And so MyDiametrical, the bad bishop, you know, the one who came up with the formula for the value of the pieces, valuing the bishop at 4.3 and the knight at 2.6, rook at 4.6, king fighting strength at 2.6, excuse me, king fighting strength at 2.6. So, and the pawns actually at 0.99, not even one whole point, but technically 0.99. So, yeah, so I'm just gonna run through these moves real fast. I'm not gonna play the whole game against. I mean, I won the game against this gentleman. He was rated just over 2,000, and I was about 850 something at the time. I'm properly in somewhere in 1900, not really over 2,000 on this site in 15-minute games. So just to give you an idea of how these games can go, and just so I can make sure I lay claim to this opening, he played E4, but again, you can play this against D4 or E4. I was trying to set it up against D4 and trying to get into a position that I'm used to playing when I played a King's Indian attack. You know, I played a little, just a little unusual. I mean, not quite the way the books would have it. I played it just a little different. I'm talking about the King's Indian attack, but I like it so much that I wanted to play it from the black side, but I didn't want to play it as a King's Indian defense. So I had to learn how to creep into it, you know, sort of subtly. So he went E4, then I went D6, he went D4. Now this is really the signature move. I call this opening my diametrical defense. Diametrical, of course, is the board game that I created, and I call it my diametrical defense because it's like the exact opposite side of the board, but the same attack as the King's Indian, but it's a defense. It's my King's Indian attack, but it's a defense. So that's why I call it that. And yeah, for short, I call it Dia Defender, which is another one of the variations of the board game that I created. Actually, it's another game you can play with the same board and pieces. All right, so Dia Defender. That's the Dia Defender right there. That knight going headed over to the king side. He went F4. I ran this against the computer against Stockfish, and it was showing me down, of course, about more than half a pawn. G6 is the third move in my defense here, and again, this could be played against almost any continuations that white makes for his third move, second and third move. White is developing reasonably. I think it comes to this bishop G7 again, the fourth move. These are standard moves. You know, it's optional with the knight going to F6, from the knight from G to F6, but the bishop on fourth move, bishop G7, that's really, you know, it's par for the course in this opening. And white, it's just a sound center, everything makes sense. My fifth move, I did this. This is not normally my fifth move. These four moves here you're looking at, D6, knight D7, G6, bishop G7. That's the signature opening. I played this A6 just a little bit different than what I would normally do, but I'm still getting, I'm perfecting it. It's not, and I had a good reason for doing that. It also, this is a waiting move in a sense, because I want white to finish developing pieces, putting them where you're gonna put them, because it's a good chance that, or he or she, it's a good chance that they're gonna have to reposition their pieces. And that's what I want to make them do. I want to make them reposition their pieces, cause some disruptions in play. And so I wait and move there. Look, and I got a response, which is not a bad move. This is not a bad move, but I want them to make commitments, committal moves, And but it's not a bad move. They so this is, then I play C5, because now I still plan on my attack on the king side, but I can soften up his center in the meantime. So why not? Why not soften up his center? So I hit at it with C5, because when I'm playing the King's Indian attack, very often I get a lot of pressure from the queen side, because my pieces are over here on the king side, protecting my king and launching for an attack and a possible sacrifice of a piece, of a minor piece, a knight or a bishop. Okay, so he's just playing normally, and again, I'm glad, because I'm getting him to commit to squares. So this is outside the box. This is not normally what I do. This is a very different setup to what I'm used to doing. But like I said, I did it because they made it possible. My opponent made it very possible for me to do this, so I went ahead with it. And so we really have passed, the spirit of the opening. I showed you the first 4 moves, and in future games I'll show the attack, exactly how the attack is mapped out, and where it heads, how the knight should be positioned, because normally pawn to H6, pawn to G5, this knight goes to F8, and then to G6, this knight is going to F6, and of course that's how, after the castle and everything. And yeah, so that's normally what I do. So I have both my knights over here, and I mean on G6 and F6, and it's a very strong setup with the bishop behind him, and then this bishop on C8 is ready to come out and sacrifice on one of these squares if necessary, if needed. If the castle happens here, it makes it much more likely for me to sack the bishop, which is done out of the King's Indian defense, and or like I say, the normal procedure is to go ahead and push the pawns and try to open up lines that way. Then if they push their pawns in a way to avoid captures, then I'll sack. So just quickly we'll run through some of these moves after that. Okay, he goes bishop E2. He's not bad at all with what he's doing. But I'm trying to put pressure on this knight. Since this knight is sitting here, I'm trying to put pressure on it, and he castles, gets out of the pin. So I hit at the knight. I mean at the bishop. I'm just, it's, this is a 15-minute game. It's not and I'm thinking if he moves it, I'll hit. If he moves it to F2, then if he goes to D2, I'll hit the pawn. And so he moved it, I hit the pawn. And that's a very aggressive move here. He knows what he's doing. Like I say, Stockfish has us pretty much even right here, and I'm going to just drop back. Normally I would just drop back, and as he hits, I would hit and then drop back, or just come back immediately when he hits the pawn, with either one of us that he hits it with. But I was hard-headed. I played it. I'm aggressive. I want to make him sweat. I want to make him work. You know, I wanted to provoke this, and he did it. And then I was thinking about going back, but I sat here for about a minute. This was a 15-minute guy. I sat about a minute and just thought about it. And actually, I did most of the thinking prior to moving when he put the bishop here. Oh, excuse me. When he came with from the knight. Okay, when the knight advanced to b5, I thought then this whole thing through, that I was not going to go all the way back to d8, and that when hoping to provoke this, and when he, you know. Or worse move. I knew I was figuring out what to do. I didn't want to get caught in this trap here, but this rook is actually I don't need it in this attack, so I can actually sacrifice this rook in this position. I can sacrifice this rook, so this is not the worst thing in the world to have him fork and get it. Anyway, I figured this all out. And then he hit, and I pinned him, because I'm still hitting this knight, and now I'm hitting this twice. And if he hits, you know, I think I'm pretty good. But he did one of the things that I considered he might do, and I considered this. I thought it out and realized that I would be in a pretty good position if I got these knights off the board. You know, I figured I'd be in a pretty good position, even if, you know, in giving up the queen. So I took, and he just stepped out the way. So I like I said, I calculated all this out because I know the value of the pieces, you know, and I made videos on it. I understand what they're worth. So I went on ahead and took, he took, I took. And I'm thinking right here that I wrote down the value where we at this point. Yeah, he's at 29.5 as far as, well, alright, now he's at 29.5 as far as point, and I'm at 27.4. I like my position. I think I'm doing pretty good here. This bishop pair is pretty powerful. I got a feeling he's going to try to get rid of this bishop, but these two minor pieces and these two rooks, I think I'm good, you know. So this is how the game proceeded. I won't say too much more. This may or may not have been the best move, but I want to keep him thinking. I want to make it difficult for him. I don't want to trade this bishop. This bishop is very strong right here. I don't want to trade it for this rook. This is a 4.3 bishop, 4.6 rook. You know, I don't want to get that up. Because then this bishop can come alive and dominate these dark squares, and I'm going to be in trouble. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be so easy for him to get this bishop into this, and then to get this queen over here this way. Alright, have a good day. So yeah, I don't want to get that up. He moved it. Now I'm protecting the pawn. He hit. I'm getting out the way. And there he forces me to exchange, basically, because I mean, I didn't like the prospects of I didn't like what might occur in moving the bishop back here. The bishop needs to be on this diagonal, the long diagonal here. Now I know it's attacking the king here, but it needs to be over here. So, because I'm going to castle there, I need to be defended. You know what I'm saying? I need to really think about defense right here and attack later. So that I just didn't want to take a chance. And then, you know, then that would have isolated this pawn if I came back this way, and sure it would have hindered his approach, his attack here. But no, I couldn't see myself committing to that, you know. So we exchanged, and now I'm threatening to hit the rook with the knight, which is a good exchange, because this is 2.6, that's 4.6. And I'm trying to also entice him, induce that so I can check and family fork. And here I did not make the best move right here. Now I didn't make the best move right here. I think the best move, Fritz said his best move was a simple move, which is just to take the pawn. and I didn't do it for several reasons. I didn't do it, and that's because I've had these dreams of this is in such a good position here. You know, it's just that centralized night is just killing something. I mean, you can't drive it off, you know. So I said I'll give up a pawn just to keep the knight there, and I stuck by that. I'll give up a pawn to keep the knight there, and then here he goes. He is, well, which was a bad move. I think this move here for him was not good. He probably should have given this up and just taken and forced me to react to it. I don't know. Seems to me that that was the appropriate, you know, approach. But maybe, perhaps he didn't want to open this file for me because rook here, now the check, you know, can cause some really serious problems. I mean, but he could have got out the way of it. I don't know. I just don't think this was the best move. I don't remember what Fritz said about it, but here we go. And then I went right back. I said to myself, I could have hit. Let's go back. I could have hit the pawn, but why didn't I hit the pawn? Because of the check here. Yeah, I didn't like that check there. I said, man, you know, that's gonna be a problem. And how much of a problem? Oh, yeah, because then after that is checkmate. If he check here, I step over. He check. Oh, he can't. Yeah. Well. Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I just was afraid of opening that up. But anyway, I felt better with the knight here. So I went right back. And he brings the rook up. I'm still having these dreams of the fork. And now I'm trying to get that off the board. See, I'm good. I like this position. I like where I am here. You know, I'm not worried about any of this. This seems pretty good to me because now the check I can hit. He got out the way of it. And I went back because we hitting at this. And now I hit in that fashion as opposed to with the knight. Because I want to go back here. I really like being here. It clogs up so many different things. And keep in mind, I do not want to give this bishop up for that rook. I don't. I'd really rather play it like this. This bishop can keep, you know, him from checking me on this light square, and the rook can keep him from checking me down. You know, I like that, the idea of me blocking that off. So now I'm still blocking the checks on these squares, on these light squares, because if he checks, I can threaten it. And you know, I like it. But he hit them both, and now he's hitting them both again. And I made the wrong decision here. Apparently, Fritz, one of Stockfish, points out that I could have just stepped up on the rook, on the queen. But now we're down so low on time that instead of me going rook d7, and so he made a bad move too, because he's low on time as well. So instead of him just taking the pawn, which would have put him in, this was one, I blundered that. Instead of him taking it, he stepped over. And now I'm good. And I think he can maneuver to win this game. I think it can be done, and but he didn't make the right continuations. So, you know, that's how that ended up. But he's running out of time. I stepped up, he checked, I went back, he's in now. That's difficult right there. But he can't, you know, progress, because and I'm just gonna hit it, you know. So I don't know. Alright, and then that was his last desperation move. Just made a bad decision now. Alright, so yeah, this has been a bad bishop, you know, just running over a game, through a game I played on MyDiametrical, introducing my new opening. I call it MyDiametrical Defense, and for short I call it Dia Defender. And yeah, you know, I like it. I think it's very useful, very strong opening, and you know, maybe I can popularize it and gain some notoriety for it. You know, as of yet, I haven't received any real credit for coming up with the formula for properly evaluating the pieces, but you know, in due time, you know, we'll see how this works out. But yeah, all right, it's the bad bishop.